Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Alishaivette. So today we're going to be talking about how I dealt with bullies in elementary school. It's kind of a pigmented thing in my mind, but I went to elementary school up in New Jersey. You do elementary school from 1st to 8th grade, so legit kindergarten to 8th grade. But when I started school, I started it in 1st grade in this school. So I went to Woodrow Wilson School. It was a cool school. There was cool teachers, there were some weird teachers. So in 1st grade, you know, coming to a new school and all, I was very much I was a teacher's pet. I guess you could say I was teacher's pet. Someone picked on me. I was a snitch. I was a tattletale, and I was a teacher's pet, and people would make fun of me for it. And when people would call me a teacher's pet, I was just like, wow. You know, it hurt me. It hurt me young. But let me tell you something also. Everything that happens in your life happens for a reason. So when I was younger and people were calling teachers pets, I would go home and cry and get upset. And, you know, like, I never really told my parents because it's not something I would tell anybody. I was just like, okay. But people would call me a teacher's pet all the time because I would always be next to the teacher. I would always be hanging out with the teacher, that kind of stuff. And it kind of transitioned all the way up until high school. Like, I still hung out with teachers. I was still a teacher's pet. I really just didn't care because as time progressed, we're gonna do a big gap. So in 1st grade, I had Miss Frankenary. She was such a sweet little old lady, but I was definitely a teacher's pet. I remember vividly getting sick in that class. Like sick, like diarrhea, throw up, vomit, sick. It was not pretty. But it was one of my favorite classes, and I can still remember her like teaching and where I sat and all that stuff, and especially where I sat when I got sick. That was not pretty. But let's go ahead and skip to 5th grade. I actually had a specialty teacher. Her name was Miss Cadian. I loved Miss Cadian. She was such a funny teacher. She was so like living. She was very living for a teacher. She loved Green Day. She loved Green Day. I distinctly remember her because I actually had donated my hair when I was that age. I cut it off for Locks of Love. I cut off 13 inches of my hair, which was so crazy for me. Like, I had long hair my entire life. I finally decided I want to cut it. I cut it off for Locks of Love, and she literally got the newspaper clipping of me cutting my hair and put it up on the wall. And it was so, I think it was a newspaper clipping. I think I was in the newspaper, guys. It was either a newspaper or just like a picture of me like holding my hair, but she was just so proud of me, and I was like, it's so cool. But she was a science teacher, and I sucked at science, but she was like a science and something else teacher. Not really sure, can't really remember, but she was such a cool teacher. Like, I remember we had a box of worms, we like raised worms, and I was a teacher's pet, and I was a tattletale because I can be. But so let's finally transition into my 8th grade year. I just continued. Well, actually, let's go into 6th grade. I had Mr. Maggio as a teacher. He was such a cool teacher. He was very strict, and I appreciated it so much because at that age, you know, you're transitioning and people are still picking on you. But in that classroom, it wasn't like desks together. It was like individual rows. I distinctly remember like who sat next to me, who sat in front of me. I don't remember who sat here, and I don't remember, nobody sat behind me. But he was such a strict teacher. He always wanted the work done properly, and he was like, at the end of the year, like, because we were such a good class, and usually he does this every year with his class, he takes us out to the Broadway diner, and he took us out to eat, and it was so like, it was so sentimental because I will always remember him because of that. I will always remember the time Mr. Maggio literally took us down the street to go to the Broadway diner at the end of the school year, and it was just us. It wasn't like a class field trip or anything, like the whole grade. No, it was just these 30 kids that he taught for the entire year. He took us out for an amazing breakfast at the Broadway diner, and he paid for everything. Like, we didn't have to pay for anything, and it was just so nice, and I still remember him to this day. So skipping ahead, we're actually going to skip all the way to 8th grade. 8th grade is the last time you'll be in elementary school, or for any other parts of the country, it's kind of like middle school, the last year before you go into high school. I had a teacher named Miss Drennan. Miss Drennan was the science teacher, and she was interesting to say the least. She was very, very nice. I was very much a teacher's pet for her, and I was very much a helper for her, because everybody who I just talked about, they actually had my brothers before me. So it was kind of like a family lineage at this point. So I was the last child for them to have. So I had Miss Drennan and Miss Degnan. Miss Degnan was our math teacher, and she was so loving. I loved her. I loved her, genuinely, like loved her. She would treat me as if I was her own child, and it was so cool to like be treated like a kid, somebody's kid. So what would happen is that I was very, very good in math. So what would happen is that during our lunch, she would call me upstairs, and I would get my lunch first, and it was such a hassle to get your lunch at like that age. So I would get my lunch first, and then I would go up to her classroom in the elevator, which we weren't allowed to do. I love you, Miss Degnan. I know you're retired already and you're writing a book about your success, but we were not supposed to be in that elevator. So we would take it from the basement all the way up to the top floor. And then we'd go in her room, and I would grade the test, and like she had to give me an answer key, and I would like grade it and stuff. I would grade it true to be like, I don't care who's my friend and who's not my friend. If you were like, oh my god, can you make sure, like, can you give me 100? I would have been like, sure, whatever. And like, if you got an F on it, I would give you an F. I'm like, oh, I don't know, I didn't grade that. Like, I told you I was gonna give you 100. Sorry, anybody who's watching this, like, you said you're gonna give me 100. No, I didn't give it to you because you didn't deserve it. So she would basically call me up, and like we would sit down and we would grade the test, and then after that we would, you know, she would always bring like fruit, and she brought the best fruit. She would give me like pineapple and stuff like that, and after I was done, I could have the option of like going back downstairs or like just hanging out up there. And I usually just hung out, or I went down and like hung out with my friends. But she was kind of someone who like affected my life completely, and it was so sad when she announced that like it was her last year there. It was just sad. Like, she always was like, oh, I'm leaving because you're the last semester I have to teach, and I'm like, no, don't leave, I want to visit you. And at the end of the year, like, we gave her a little going away present at graduation, and you know, I genuinely, so I have the flowers, like they wouldn't even let me do the speech, and I was so close to this teacher. So I had some other girl, I can't even remember who else did the speech, but I just remember holding the flowers and like giving it to her and like crying, because she was such a good professor. I'm in college too much now. She was such a good teacher, so I always remember her. Another teacher that I like, two more teachers that I remember very, very strongly. So probably in like between 1st to 5th grade, or like 6th grade, I had a teacher. Her name was Miss Powell. She was a assistant teacher pretty much. Basically, I had problems with like reading at a young age, so I don't think I had problems. I think I was just genuinely lazy, and like I just didn't pick up words easily. So she would take us into this room for the special course for this special like help session. I completely am forgetting what it is called. Oh my god, I'll ask my mom though. I'll like write it down here. There. But she would take us to this to do this, and we would read like essential leapfrog books where you like read it word by word. It'd be a group of like 2, 3, or 4 of us. And I remember one time it was like in our gym on the stage, in like a room next to the stage. But I just remember that, and she was such a good teacher. Like, I always remember her because she always hung out in the classroom of this next teacher I'm going to talk about, and her name is Miss Coles. I love Miss Coles. She was our computer teacher, and every time I had computer class, I I love Miss Coles. I remember we would just be like, can we hang out in your classroom? And she'd be like, yeah, sure. She would give us something to do, or like we could sit on the computers and like hang out. But I love her. I still talk to her on Facebook to this day. I always check up on her. Miss Coles, if you're watching this, I love you. You changed my elementary school view. You were so nice. We had her for like a couple years. Miss Coles was my by far right. Miss Degnan's here. Miss Coles is like right there, because they're both like, they impacted my life completely. So Miss Degnan in the math aspect. Miss Coles, she picked me out for a certificate. I remember this in 8th grade for computers, from computer something. I don't know, it's on my resume. Like, I felt so highly about that. I just took it off though, because I just got another certificate in college, so I thought that would be a little bit better. But I remember her like doing so much for. I just really miss those days where I didn't have to worry about bills and stuff like that, you know. But those are like some teachers in my life, like elementary school, that affected me a lot. And like also how I ended up handling bullying from kids at that age. It's really hard, first of all, because like your body's changing. So like I started to develop a lot of hair on my arms, and like bullied me to the point where I shaved my hair off my arms. My mom caught me, and my mom was like, did you shave your hair off your arms? And I was like, yeah, I did. What do you want me to do? She's like, you can't do that, it's gonna grow. And it grew back so thick, and now it's just like, it is on the camera you can see like the little, but like in person you can barely see it. Like, it will blonde over time, get sunlight. But people would just bully me, not even about like my weight or anything. They would just bully me about like cosmetic stuff. So like my arms, you know, my eyebrows, and I'm like 7, leave me alone. But I never knew how to say that to people. I always let people push me around and like tell me what to do as a young age. End of the day, I actually walked out of elementary school with like someone I actually went to school with, because like I mentioned in my last video, I went to this, like, some of my best friends are like Tatiana, Sade, and Miriam. I walked out with one true ass best friend. Like, that's Miriam. I've known her since 7th grade. She came to our school, I think, in 7th grade. Miriam, don't quote me. It might have been 6th. It might have even been 5th, but don't quote me. But it was like around that time, and like that's when I met her, and like we weren't close at first, but we were friends. Like, we were chill. Like, leaving elementary school, I knew none of these people were gonna matter when I went into high school, and they didn't. They really didn't. When I went into high school, my freshman year, my best friend was like someone I considered family. But pretty much I just dealt with bullying. I just took it in. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and be like I stood up again. I didn't. I took it. And it kind of made me the person I am today, because now when I look back, I'm just like, these people bullied me in the past and pushed me over so much, and now I'm just like, someone wants to say something, I'm like, well, listen, I don't like you because of this, so I'm not gonna deal with you if I don't like you. Pretty much it. But I got sidetracked with the teacher thing, but like those were pretty good teachers too. Okay guys, I'm gonna get going. I got glammed. I swear I said I wasn't gonna do a video, but I did a video. I'm so proud of myself. But I just want to say thank you guys for watching, and I really hope you stick around and watch some more. I'm trying to post every week, twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, but that's if I get ballsy, and that's if I have time, because literally college has been kicking my behind. Okay guys, I will see you next week. Bye. Oh, also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on my post notifications. Next slide is going to have a little button where you can subscribe. All my social media handles are going to be on the page as well. It's so convenient. Just pull out your phone and go ahead and just write them all down, or follow me and snap me and tell me what you want to see. Tell me what you want to hear. I'm going to have visitors on the show. My mom's going to be on the show. My dad is going to be on the show. Just let me know what you want to see. I do that. That'd be fun. Alright guys, I will see you next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on my post notifications, and I will see you next week. Oh, next week. Oh, next week. Damn. Next week. Oh, next week. Oh, next week. Next week. Alright. I can take all my makeup off now. Great.